Hey everyone, and welcome back to Neuroalchemy, a neurosynergy podcast where science meets soul and where healing is understood as a nonlinear, multidimensional journey. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah Young. And before we begin, I want to name one of the core values of this space. We define every term as if you're hearing it for the very first time. Not because you're uninformed, but because empowerment starts with clarity, and clarity creates safety. I also want to name something clearly from the beginning. My spirituality didn't come after my clinical training or even after my last brain injury. It came first. This work exists at the intersection of deep spiritual listening and rigorous scientific understanding. Today's episode is a little different. It's personal, it's tender, and it's one I've felt called to share. This is the story of how I became a neurointegrative clinician, and more importantly, why. If you've ever wondered why I blend neuroscience with somatic work, why I speak about multidimensional healing, why I emphasize sensitivity, compassion, and safety, or why neurosynergy exists at all, this is where it began. I want to start with something very simple. I did not become a neurointegrative clinician because life was easy. I became one because life changed me. Before this work, I was a traditionally trained speech language pathologist. I loved the brain. I loved helping people communicate, connect, and reclaim their lives. But like many healers, my path reshaped itself through lived experience. My health began to shift. My body started sending signals that I didn't understand. My energy, my clarity, my digestion, my sleep, my nervous system. I'd say almost everything became unfamiliar. And I found myself in a season where my form, flow, awareness, field, and essence were all asking for attention. I didn't have the language for that yet, but my body did. When I talk about these 5 realms, I'm describing 5 interrelated dimensions of human experience that heal together, not separately. I didn't have that language back then, but looking back, they were already working through me. So what's form? That's the physical realm. My body was exhausted, my hormones were shifting, my inflammation was high, sleep was fragile, my brain felt foggy in ways that scared me to death. Flow. This is the realm of emotions, sometimes energy, and the nervous system. And at the time, I lived in chronic stress activation, what many people refer to as fight or flight. My system was stuck in alert mode all the time, and I didn't have the tools to calm it. The realm of awareness is the thought and identity realm. So I questioned myself constantly. I didn't have the words for how I felt or what I was experiencing. I blamed myself for not being able to keep up with life. Then there's field. That's the intuitive realm. My intuition began whispering that the way I was working, living, and healing needed to change. And I resisted that whisper for a long time. I would also include in the realm of field your relationships, not just with yourself, but your relationships with other people throughout the stretch that you call your life. And then, of course, there's essence, which is the realm of the deeper self, or where many people might refer to as their spirit or their soul. It's the part of us that's more true than all of the other realms. Somewhere beneath everything, my essence, my truest self, was quietly asking me to listen. There was a moment, a very real, very human moment, when I realized that the traditional medical path alone was not giving me everything that I needed. It wasn't giving me the answers, the clarity, not integration. I was being seen in fragments, organ by organ, symptom by symptom, appointment after appointment, but never as a whole person. And I remember thinking, if I, with a background in neuroscience, feel this lost, how does everyone else feel? That was the hinge, the shift, the moment I moved from surviving to becoming. What followed was not a search for quick fixes. It was a search for understanding. Over time and at a pace my nervous system could tolerate, I studied functional medicine, integrative medicine, neuroplasticity, somatics, trauma-informed care, emotional intelligence, energy work, vagus nerve regulation, meditation, nervous system mapping, intuition, quantum integrative medicine, and consciousness research, but not as separate disciplines, as missing pieces of a larger picture. I wasn't just learning academically, I was healing myself along the way. Here's what healing taught me. Fatigue is not laziness, it's biology. Anxiety is not weakness, it's a nervous system seeking safety. Inflammation is not random, it's communication. Sensitivity is not fragility, it's intelligence. Intuition is not imaginary, it's guidance. And healing is not linear, it's relational across all 5 realms. My clinical work evolved because I evolved. I began blending traditional training with lived experience and decades of multidisciplinary study. The result became the foundation of what we now know today as neurosynergy integrative health. This is an approach that honors form, the body, flow, the emotions, energy and nervous system, awareness, the mind and perception, field, intuition, creative intelligence, community and relationships, and essence, your core self. This framework allowed me to help clients more deeply, more gently, and more completely. Neurosynergy didn't actually start as a business. It started as a calling, one I resisted, one that scared me, one that felt too big to hold alone. But every story that I heard from clients, every person who felt dismissed or fragmented, every sensitive adult who thought something was wrong with them, they all carried the same longing. Just see me as a whole person. Neurosynergy was created to answer that call. I teach slowly, gently, visually, with metaphors, with compassion, with permission to pause, because that is what my own healing required. And it is what my clients' healing requires as well. I understand the sensitive, intuitive, overwhelmed adult because I was one. I am one. This work is personal. It always has been. My work bridges neuroscience, somatics, energy, intuition, functional medicine, emotional intelligence, trauma-informed care, creativity, and spiritual grounding. Not because it sounds good, but because a human system is all of these things. Healing happens when all 5 realms begin working together, like an orchestra finding its harmony. If you take nothing else from today, take this. You are not broken. You are becoming. Your symptoms are not moral failures. They're messages. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. Your overwhelm is not weakness. You are not meant to heal in isolation. You are meant to heal in connection. And for all of our listeners out there, I want you, for our challenge of the week, I want you to think about the realms that we were talking about: form, flow, field, awareness, and essence. And I would love for you to just check in with yourself and see if you're doing as well in each of those areas as you would like to be. Because if you find areas that you're not exactly where you'd like to be, instead of thinking about that as being a negative, I want you to consider that it's an opportunity for you to level up. So over the next 7 days, I want you to take some time and be aware of your levels, right? Be aware of your levels of consciousness and start giving more attention to the parts that need more loving. Thank you everyone for joining me for this deeply personal episode of Neuroalchemy. My story is not a prescription, it's an invitation. An invitation to see your own healing with more compassion, more understanding, and more multidimensional awareness. And if all you take from today is the permission to slow down and listen more gently to yourself, that's more than enough. I'm Dr. Sarah Young. Until next time, may you honor your sensitivity, trust your intuition, support your whole nervous system, and all your other systems of your body, of your consciousness. Keep becoming who you're meant to be. Bye for now.